up, guys? Autofanatic. Driving my Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio now for 2 months. Break-in period is definitely over. Now we're going to do the first oil change, and I'm going to do it myself. A lot of guys are bringing it to the dealers, but to be honest with you, I like to do it myself just because that's just what I like to do, and I want to put my own oil in. So this car, believe it or not, I bought the oil. They recommend like a Pennzoil oil or Mopar oil, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different. So we're going to be using the AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic 0W40. I feel AMSOIL is some of the best oil I've ever put in any of my cars. It's quieted down the valve train. It's stopped burning of oil in my Shelby and BMWs and other cars that I've owned over the years. So that's why I'm doing it. This is $15 a bottle with shipping, and we're going to extract the oil using the EWK oil extraction tool right there. I'm going to show you guys that quick in action. We're not going to go under the car to remove the carbon fiber under tray. We're going to do it right from the top, right from the oil dipstick, and then we're going to just pull the filter off from the top because the filter on this car is right underneath the engine airbox cover. And we're going to knock this oil change out in a matter of minutes. So let me get set up, and I'm going to show you guys quick the EWK and how it works, and we're going to get started for you. All right, guys, before we get started, I'm just going to show you quickly the EWK oil extractor here. This one has a mechanical pump to create your vacuum, or we're going to do it with the air compressor today. So let me just show you quick. Now, whenever you use this with an air compressor, don't overcharge it because you'll cause a problem with the seal inside. So connect our air just like that, and then there's an on and off valve. So here, take a listen. And that's pretty much what you're going to do. And you're going to see the oil come out through here. So on this end, turn the pump that way, we have this fitting, which locks right in. Just like that. And then this is the end that's going to go into the dipstick tube right here. So what we're going to do is just connect these two halves together, and this is a pressed, nice tight fit, so it's not going to leak. And we're going to pull the dipstick out of the car, and we're going to submerge this down into the hole, and we're going to start pulling the oil out right now. All right, so got the tube inserted into the dipstick. We're going to turn the vacuum on right now. You guys can see the oil being extracted from the tube, and it's going to go right into the reservoir. So it's a pretty painless operation. We're going to let this run for a couple of minutes until these tubes are clear, and then we're going to turn the camera back on and we're going to finish the oil change for you guys. We're already at the 5-liter mark. Got a little bit more. And as you're doing it, I like to just do this. Just in case you get an air pocket in there, it kind of helps release it. You don't want to exceed 40 psi. You can actually break the bladder. So believe it or not, using the hand pump definitely makes a lot of sense. So we got a little bit more than 6 liters of oil out of this crankcase right now, and that's about normal. Whatever remaining oil is going to be stuck on the internals of the engine and, of course, the oil filter. So that's why this is a really good unit for a majority of the cars out there, but something that takes like 8 quarts up to 10 quarts. There is a larger one, and I'll put links in the video if you guys want to do this yourself. But it's painless. There's no oil anywhere under the hood, on my floor, and I'm going to pull this out now. And then what I usually do, just take a shop towel and clean it like that. And then I use mineral spirits, and I'll blow it through the tubes before I put them away, and I also throw some mineral spirits inside the unit, and I shake it up and I pour it out before I put it away, just because I like to be clean. But if you have a service shop, you don't really need to clean these. Now we're going to move the camera to the other side of the car, and I stuck something under the back to keep the airbox assembly up so I could get to the oil filter. All right, guys, now we're over at the filter replacement. I got some fender aprons down on the car. I took a piece of wood, and you got to disconnect the clip on the back of the airbox to get this to stay where it is, so we have clear access to getting the wrench on there to the oil filter. You guys can see that right there? Okay, so we're going to pull that off right now. All right, so I got my 1/2-inch drive on there. I got a swivel on the end with a 32 millimeter, and it's not on tight, you know, where you got to go crazy with it. But you just got to get on it at the right angle. And we're going to lubricate the O-rings on the new cartridge before we put it in as well. There we go. that's it. So got a little bit of a drip here and there. We'll clean that up. We're good to go. And you could actually stick your shop towels into the reservoir and get any of the remaining old oil out by soaking it up like I'm showing you here. And that's just something that I like to do on cartridge filters that are on the top of the engine. Over on my workbench here, I'm just going to lay a shop towel down, and here's the new filter cartridge. So you're going to want to lubricate these Viton O-rings here. There's one on the end, there's one here, and there's one on the top right where it seals into the cavity. So I just pretty much take a new quart of oil and then I fill the cap up with some fresh oil, and I'm just doing this with my rubber glove, my nitrile glove. We're just going to lubricate these O-rings so we don't have any problems getting this filter out, and we don't have any problems having a seat back into the location where it's got to go. The OEM filter cartridge is prepared and ready to get back into the car. So let's move over there, get this installed, and we're going to fill the crankcase up with fresh oil, check the levels, and we are done. So got the new filter cartridge installed, and it's seated by hand. We're going to just get this snugged up by hand, and then we're going to put the socket back on it, and we're going to make sure it bottoms out and it seats the way it's supposed to. And you're going to feel it when it pretty much bottoms out. Alright guys, so we snapped the air box back down. There's these rubber grommets with some nipples, and you just pretty much push it right back down. Make sure you get the clip for the wire on the back. Now on the plenum, over here, you're going to make sure you get both sides in to the rubber. You're going to line it up, and that's it. You're installed. There's no clamps, there's no screws. It's actually pretty easy. The trick to doing this by yourself and not going crazy and pulling everything off the car, because you don't have to, is take a small piece of wood and make sure you unplug, disconnect the clip on the back, and you could raise this whole section up so you can get in there with your wrench and do your filter swap. We're going to screw this in here. So we're going to pretty much start with 6 quarts, and then we're going to check the level and see where we're at. So it's pretty painless. I like to use a funnel on something like this particular filler neck where it's got the threads and you can kind of thread it in there, so it kind of keeps it from toppling over, and it gives it a nice seal so you don't make a mess. And like I said, this engine already burned a decent amount of oil during break-in, which is pretty much normal. And on a lot of cars that I've owned in the last 10 years, whenever I've had a really loud valve train and engine oil consumption problems, I switched over to the AMSOIL, and it literally diminished everything. Made the valve train quieter, better oil pressure, and less wear and tear on the engine, and this is the way to go. So you guys can pick this stuff up online. It's about $15 a bottle with shipping. This is pretty much one of the most painless oil changes that I've done in a very long time, because I didn't have to crawl under the car, I didn't have to fight a filter in an awkward location, and I didn't have to clean anything up on the bottom of the car, which almost always happens. No matter how careful you are when you're doing this stuff yourself, you'll always tend to make a mess. That's just life. Another thing too, my AMSOIL rep was a little unsure if this oil was going to work on this engine. So for any of you guys out there that have a car and you want to switch to what I feel is the best oil, you're going to want to check on the back. It's going to give you an API number. So API SN plus SM, and then it gives you some ratings. So this is rated even for like the Nissan GTR. Now, friends of mine in the industry that build 1600 horsepower GTRs use this. Guys that do twin turbo Hennessy Vipers use this. So this is some of the best oil you're going to get, and that's just what I wanted for this particular engine. So your owner's manual will give you an oil specification rating, the API standard. That's what you're going to want to match up. This thing far exceeds the specification of this engine. And when we recycle the oil I am not going to bother trying to fill up the small containers, and I'm going to show you how I do it and a very good recommendation on how you guys should do it too, so that you can drop off the old oil at any gas station or service center or auto parts store for recycling. That's that. All right, let's just check the level quick. See where we're at. Okay, level looks good. Maybe a little bit more. So once you fire the engine up and it starts getting through all the internal components, you may have to do a little top off. All right. So we got about 6 1/4 quarts in there right now. And you want to check the level with the engine off always, otherwise you're going to get sprayed with oil. Okay, we're at the perfect level right now, so we're good. So it took about 6 1/4 quarts. You may have to top it off after you run the engine a little bit as the oil gets absorbed into the new filter cartridge. And that's perfectly fine, but now I feel a lot better that I got the factory filled oil out of the car, and I got some of the best oil in the car right now to prevent the burning and excess wear and tear. So that's it, guys. I'm going to put the engine cover back on, and I'm going to move the camera, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to recycle the oil out of the EWK oil extractor. So hang tight for a couple of minutes. All right, guys, I got my Blitz drip pan down. I'm going to clean out the extraction tubes. I have a bottle of odorless mineral spirits with a spout, and what I usually do is I pour it from one end, and I'll let it drip into a gallon container. Now, the gallon containers that I use for oil recycling, as you can see here, they have a very wide neck, a little over 1.5 inches. And the reason I use these is because it eliminates spilling, and especially when you're doing the stuff on your own, you could pour right from the drain pan or the oil extractor right into here without using a funnel. So I'll put a link to these in the description of the video. I suggest you pick up like a case of these whenever you do oil changes. Don't try to fuss with trying to refill the quarts in the liter bottles. You're just going to make a mess no matter how hard you try not to. So before we get started, we're going to put a little bit of cleaner on a shop towel. We're going to do a small one first. And I'm just going to pretty much clean the exterior, just like that. And this is just going to take any residue off, which you can see there in the towel. And we're done. So the outside of the extraction tube is cleaned. Now we're going to submerge the extraction tube into the gallon. And then I'm going to carefully, okay, and you guys can see that there. And just with some gravity, you're going to clean out the extraction tubes. You can use compressed air on one end, but you will make a mess. It will spray all over you. And I just want to show you guys here. So when you disconnect the extraction portion, it's got a nice little pourable spout. So you could pour it right out of the container. You don't have to unscrew this. You don't have to take it apart. It is 100% painless, and I'll show you right now. So here we go. You just want to make sure you grab it nice and easy. And just like that, you easily pour it into your recycling containers without a funnel and without spilling. And that's why the wide mouth containers that I use are the ones you guys want to get. So we fill it up to about there. Now we're going to grab another container. So hope you guys got a couple of tips on how to use an oil extractor today. This is also considered like, I guess, a little review of the EWK oil extractor. This is the second time that I've used it, and so far I actually really like it. These are about $77 on Amazon. I'll throw a link in the description below. I'll also throw a link to these wide neck gallon containers because they're going to make your life a hell of a lot easier to do an oil change. So see you guys soon. Maybe there's not a lot of guys out there with this particular car that are going to do this, but if you have a filter on the top of your engine, import car, German car, Italian car, whatever, this is the way to do it. It'll just be a lot easier than crawling on the floor, making a mess. There was no mess at all during this oil change. So see you guys soon. autofanatic@yahoo.com. Stay tuned to the channel for more automotive content, and I'll see you guys on the next one.